Hello and welcome back to the Touch on Sport podcast. As always, I'm your host, Buster Tutcher. Today's episode of the podcast, we are having a look at the Week 5 slate of games. We are already on Week 5 of the NFL 2023 season. Another busy week of football this week. We have got our first 4 teams on byes. We'll have a little look at which teams are on byes at the end of the podcast. But let's get right into the action. Let's talk about Thursday night football. Tonight, we have got the Chicago Bears at the Washington Commanders. Chicago started to play a bit better last week. Lost it in the fourth quarter, though, in that loss to the Broncos. I think the Commanders are gonna be able to run on Chicago, and I think the Commanders are gonna be able to win this game, probably quite comfortably. Actually, yes, there were positives to take for Chicago, but I don't think they'll be able to back that up. I think it's going to be a bit of a regression game for them. Washington, they've been playing quite solid. Defensively especially, and they've been running the ball well, so I think in this game, Washington are able to take the win. Let's move on to Sunday, and again, we have our second game in London, here in the UK. Again, it's the Jags. This time they are playing Buffalo. The Bills coming over to London. Should be a good game. Should hopefully see some offense, playing some nice football. Be interesting to see how the Jags go, having been in the UK for a whole week now, settled in, got accustomed to the time zones and everything, opposed to the Bills coming over from America. Be interesting to see if that has any effect on the outcome. But for this one, I do think the Bills aren't going to be too much for the Jags. They've been playing really well recently, playing some really good football, solid defensively. Josh Allen has been playing like Josh Allen can, making magic happen. I think he's got too much for the Jags this week, so I think the Bills win this one. Let's move on to the later game, the early slate of normal kickoffs, and we'll start with the Tennessee Titans at the Indianapolis Colts. A couple of teams have been hit and miss so far, shall we say. I mean, lots of positives so far this season for Indy. Anthony Richardson has been playing really well. He's adjusted nicely to the NFL. We're starting to see him, he's a great athlete and he's running the ball well. We're starting to see a bit of a passing game coming. He was back last week and he played well. For the Titans, they're just modelling that offense all around Derrick Henry, and it'll be interesting to see how they go against Tennessee. I think this will be a tight game. I think it'll be a close game. Two teams who want to run the ball. I'm not entirely sure which way this one's going to go. I think coaching-wise, Tennessee have a bit of an edge, and I think Tennessee will win this game. But I think it'll be a close game and a tight, tense game all the way through. Next up, the Houston Texans coming off another win, playing really well, going to the Atlanta Falcons. And for me in this game, I think it comes crashing down a bit for Houston. I think the Falcons, they get their running game going. I think they're going to be able to dominate the clock, dominate time of possession, and challenge CJ Stroud, who has been playing really well, but I don't think he's going to... I think we'll have a bit of a step back game for this one from the Texans, who've been on the up, but it's all new, it's all first year. I think we'll have a bit of a step back, and I think Atlanta win this one. Next up, let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers have been playing solid on defense, but offensively they have been poor. And against a Baltimore defense that just is solid, plays really well, plays tough, plays hard, I can see it being another hard day for the Pittsburgh offense to get going. And I'm enjoying what I'm seeing from Baltimore. They're running the ball. Lamar Jackson is playing how Lamar Jackson plays. He's elusive, he's fast, he makes things happen with his feet, and he can throw the ball. And he's got a couple guys who he's making plays with now. So for this one, I think Baltimore wins. And I think they might actually make it a little bit comfortable. I think it's going to be a hard day at the office for Pittsburgh. Next up, let's talk about the New York Giants at the Miami Dolphins. Two teams coming off disappointing results, I would say. Giants, they got pulverized up front by the Seahawks on Monday Night Football. The Dolphins came off that loss to the Bills. I think this is a bounce back spot for Miami. I think they get back going. They get that track meet offense, that pure speed going, and I think they put up some points here against New York, and I think it's a bit of a comfortable win for the Dolphins, actually. Okay, let's talk about the Carolina Panthers at the Detroit Lions, and this is another game where I can see the home team putting up some points. We know what Detroit can do offensively when they get going. They like to score points, and against a Carolina team that defensively, there's question marks. You know, we're starting to see bits and pieces here and there, but it's a bit questionable still from Bryce Young. We know he ain't got a lot to pass the ball to. So, yeah, I can see Detroit winning this one quite comfortably. Last game in the early slate of kickoffs, we have got the New Orleans Saints at the New England Patriots. I think this will be a close game. I think two teams that are more defensively driven than offensively at the minute. Be interesting to see which defense kind of gives first. I think it'll be New England's that gives first, and I think New Orleans actually win this game. I think Derek Carr can get something going. He's got a couple of weapons. He's got some pieces he can use. I think New Orleans win this game in New England, and I don't know who's going to be at quarterback for New England. Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is it going to be Bailey Zappi? Who are they going to go with? Either way, I think it's going to be a hard day of offense for New England fans. So, unfortunately, another loss I see coming for the Patriots. Let's move on to the late slate of games, and we'll start with the Eagles going to LA to play the Rams. I think this will be a great game. I think, obviously, the Eagles undefeated, yet to play their best game. The Rams underrated, playing well, playing good, 3-1. Had a nice solid start to the season, surprising people, me included. I think this will be a good game, actually. I think we might see some good coaching, I think there's so much talent on show that this should be a really nice competitive game. If that Rams line, offensive line holds up, I actually think Matt Stafford can pick apart this Eagles defense, and I can actually see the Rams winning. I think it will be a close game, but if Matt Stafford gets the ball late and has a chance to win, I'd back him in this game to actually get the job done for the Rams and inflict a first loss on the Eagles this year. Let's go and talk about now the Cincinnati Bengals at the Arizona Cardinals. And it's been a tough year, hasn't it, for the Bengals? One half-decent performance and a lot of questionable play, especially on offense. Meanwhile, the Cardinals, they just play tough. They're playing hard. They are working. They are putting everything on the line for their team, for their coaches, for their teammates. I think this is another tough day at the office for the Bengals. They need their defense to step up and stop this Cardinals running game, because if they let it get going, I don't see Cincinnati winning. If their defense steps up, they have a chance. They need to get their own running game going with Joe Mixon. They need to take some of the pressure off Joe Burrow and his calf. They need to get Jamar Chase going again, because one really good game, the rest has been a bit So I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Cardinals actually win, and for the Bengals, I think this season's already getting away from them a bit. Let's talk about now the Kansas City Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings. And Kansas City have had one good game on offense, I'd say. They've had some stop-start mistakes in the rest of their games. They had a good game against the Bears. I think this is another chance for them to have a good game. I don't really rate this Minnesota defense so far. I think this is probably another game where Minnesota can move the ball and then struggle to actually put up points. So I think the Kansas City wins this game. I think there's an opportunity for them to get their offense going again. I think, yes, Minnesota are probably going to move the ball on them, but I think Kansas City's defense will adapt a bit of a bend don't break policy, and I can see this being a comfortable win for the Chiefs actually. Jets at Broncos. What promises to be an interesting game. Broncos obviously got their first win of the season. First win with Sean Payton as head coach last week. Huge comeback in the fourth quarter to get that result. The Jets, some promising moments. All right, they lost in the end to the Chiefs. They had the fumble by Zach Wilson. But some promising moments, a good comeback to get themselves back into the game. How can these two teams carry on that momentum from last week? That's the question on my lips. And of the two, I think it's more likely to be... I don't know, actually. I think in this game, if the Jets start okay on offense, their defense will carry them through. If the Jets' offense splutters out of the gate and struggles early, then I think it might compound itself back into a regression. So the start of this game, I think, is huge. Which way is it going to go? I like the Broncos to get another win here. I think Sean Payton's going to know that if he can get on top of Zach Wilson early, he can get on top of this win and get this game and get his team another win. Get some momentum building properly. So I think Broncos are going to come out flying. They're going to come out fast. And I think we're going to see Broncos go to 2-0 and another loss for the Jets. Right. Sunday night football. Talk about a big game. Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. This should be a huge game. Two of the best teams in the NFC. Two of the teams that have been playing the best this season so far, you have to say. Two absolutely stacked rosters. In San Francisco, I think, let's be honest, what's the weakness of this Cowboys team so far this season? It's been the run defense. Kyle Shanahan and his run scheme with Christian McCaffrey, getting Deebo Samuel involved. I think the Niners can run on the Cowboys and they can run their way to 5-0 and inflict another loss on this Dallas team. And I think the Niners are going to put themselves in pole position to be that NFC number 1 seed with a big result here. Take some more momentum, inflict another mental blow on the Cowboys. I think it's going to be a huge game. I hope it's going to be a good game. I can see it being a really great game. Two teams going at each other. Be interesting to see how Brock Purdy goes in the big spot under the lights. He's lived up to the pressure before in the playoffs. How will he go in the regular season against a big team like the Cowboys? Following that up, we have Monday Night Football with the Green Bay Packers going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And it's a hard one for me to pick this one. I mean, are we going to see Jimmy G back for the Raiders? If it's Aiden O'Connell, can the Green Bay defense, put the same pressure on him as he suffered last week? We'll see. Can Green Bay get a few more players back healthy? Get their running game going? Give some more support to Jordan Love? Either way, I do think Green Bay has enough to win this game and move on to next week and get another loss inflicted on the Raiders. I mean, I think it's going to be a close game all the way through. But hopefully it's a good game for Monday Night Football. I can see it being, if Green Bay get ahead early and get their defense on top and get their running game going, I can see it being over early, really. I can see them putting the game to bed and just making it comfortable and riding it out and running the ball and dominating time of possession. So hopefully the Raiders can come out and be a bit feisty in that one, but we shall see how that goes. As we mentioned earlier, we have got 4 teams on buys this week. So we've got the Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Chargers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers all on a buy, an early buy for all 4 teams. And actually, I think 4 teams that could do with a little bit of a rest. They have had they haven't had the perfect start to the season, any of them. I think Seattle will be coming off a bit of momentum from their last week, but I think all 4 teams need that little bit of rest and get some players back fully healthy. Be interesting to see how they go next week when they come off their bye, if they've made any adjustments in their time off, if their coaching staff has noticed anything that they can change and improve for the rest of their season. It's interesting to see how they go. Okay, it's been a bit of a shorter podcast today. I'm a bit stretched for time, so I do apologise about that. I still hope you have enjoyed today's podcast. Just a quick look at every game. We will be back on Monday, of course, for our next look, or our review of Week 5's games and an overview of what happened, the highs, the lows. Talk about each and every game, and we will see you then. I do hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.